Ever had sex with someone and afterwards thought to yourself, that didn't count?
That would be like 25 through, wait, how old am I?
Welcome to GayTalk 2.0, the ultimate podcast for your dose of dish.
All right, ladies and gents, welcome back to another episode of GayTalk 2.0, an LGBT podcast streaming live and in color on our YouTube channel for all of our Patreon supporters. Today, we're joined by Dr. Abie Mendelsohn, a fellowship-trained laryngologist and throat expert. Dr. Mendelsohn is doing great work in the gender-affirming care space with a concentration on voice surgery and expanding affirming care for those in need. My name is Tom, and I'm your host, and as always, I'm in the studio with my amazing co-host, starting with the first one.
Hey, y'all, Nick or Trish.
And
J-Bear, a.k.a. your boyfriend's boyfriend.
And welcome you all to the dish. So let's see. Streaming is live. The board is recording. I'm just trying to make sure that I got all my ducks in a row.
So our listeners know Tom is, for lack of a better term, on the rag today. And I'm sorry for all of our female listeners for using that term, but I have no better way of describing what's going on in the studio today.
I don't know. It's just, I've been going through it today. I woke up super early, and by super early, I mean 4:45. I started work at 5, trying to get out by 3:30 and, rush home. Well, rush and try to get everything ready for the show. And it's, it's very taxing. A lot of people don't realize how long and how much work it takes to prep for a show like this every week. And then going through the motions of making sure that your audio is okay and that everything else is working.
And then throw into the mix, you decide to try new adventures.
Exactly.
Just before we go on live, and then
Right.
it just adds to the pleasantries.
Yeah. Hey, Nick, I want to test something. Can you give me a call?
Don't be like that. Don't hate me.
I think honestly we tend to over stress over items when we don't know how it's going to work out.
Right. But the thing is, so, right now, for those of you watching on the live stream on YouTube, what you're seeing is a rendering of our main camera, just the main camera divided into 3 different sections. But we have 3 other cameras right in the front here that points to each and every one of us. And I can't use them all simultaneously on the live stream when we're using the software that allows us to bring in a guest so that you can see the guest, right?
You can, but you can't.
Right.
Currently.
Because I can say, hello, how are you? And you'll see my lips moving, and then the hello, how are you 5 seconds later. And
it's kind of like when you call somebody and they're in the car and then you get that echo back and you're like, fuck this shit, I can't handle it. And you hang up and you call them back.
Yeah.
That's kind of what was going on.
Exactly. And I was just going through it.
I was automatically thinking, and I made you myself, Saturday afternoon movie classics, the old Kung Fu movies they used to do. Yeah, and all the English, they would be speaking and their mouths are still running and it's like, you killed my brother, and the guy's still... So
when they dub the language.
Yeah, they dub the language, and it's like, the guy's still speaking.
You killed my brother.
Yeah.
Danielson.
Danielson. Yeah.
You're dead.
Oh, God.
No, it's just, it is what it is. And, and so Nick got here and I was just like in a mood. He's like, oh my God, you're bitchy today. You're on your period.
No, I wasn't saying you were bitchy. It wasn't that you're bitchy. It was that
high strung.
Very
high strung.
All over the place. You're not one to be all over the place.
Right.
You're more one to be fixated.
Yeah.
And so when seeing somebody like you who tends to be fixated on a project or whatever you're doing in the moment, it's a little unnerving. I'm not going to lie. It's a little unnerving.
She's like, hey, check on him. I don't know what's wrong with her today. She's hyper.
You know, things happen.
And I was like, yeah.
I straight up texted Jay earlier, and I was like, "Hey, you're gonna have to ask for the studio lighting because I'm a little nervous to ask."
No, we're fine. We're fine. But anyway, we are back. You know, as we mentioned before, we have an amazing guest today. We're not cheating on Dr. G, but we do have another doctor joining us today.
No, I was thinking about that today.
So listen, we have Dr. G's our butt doctor, and now
Our laryngologist.
Dr. Mendelssohn's our throat doctor. So
That's right.
probably
One is
get
a
him
butt
on here.
doctor.
Yeah, one's a throat doctor. So
Right.
maybe we could have him here one day at the same time and spit roast the subject here.
Oh,
That's
God.
good. No, but I'm excited. So you know that gender affirming care has been a very contentious subject in many state houses throughout the United States currently, and you know, having someone whose experience or whose expertise is specifically around, you know, the gender affirming care space is important, you know, especially for members of the trans community. So I am excited to have a conversation with him. You know, so he'll join us on the second half of the show. But now that we're here, I'm going to toss it over to my bitches because I do want to know how y'all doing. Y'all know how I'm doing. I'm high strung and going through it today. But Trish, darling, how are you?
I'm fine.
You're fine?
Yeah, I'm fine.
All is well in the land of Oz?
Yeah, we are sending out our fall appeal at work right now. So it's a 4,000 piece mailing. So I've been stuffing letters like.
You're kind of wishing somebody stuffed you that way, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But yeah, no, it's fine. But funny enough, I am. I don't know if we set this on the show, but I'm taking 2 weeks off of work in November. I'm going away.
Nice.
I cannot wait. I'm going away. I'm going to be with my family, which I love them, but like
it's family.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, like I'm looking for like a vacation.
It's like the leftovers you leave in the fridge. After a while, you just don't want to eat them anymore.
Right. But anyway, so like we're going to the first week that we're away, I'm going to a resort with my family, and turns out that one of my good friends, his partner is going to be at the same resort at the same time, so he's flying in on the same day as I am, and I'm actually really excited. We're going to Harry Potter World, which I've always wanted to go to, and I'm super excited. But funny enough, he has a friend that works at Universal, and the guy got us tickets, you know, for free. And then, you know, my friend was saying like, "Hey, yeah, I'm going to Florida with Nick," and blah blah. And he goes, "Is that Nick? Is that the Nick that I matched on Tinder with?" And I'm like, "What?" Like, I don't remember this.
What?
Yeah. So and so I'm like, wait, what? And Paul's like, yeah, it was like back in like 2019. And I'm like, I don't remember this person at all. He friended me on Instagram today. But anyway, like, it's just like.
So did you match on Tinder?
I have no idea. I couldn't find him in my feed or anything.
Would you match today if you saw his picture? Would you swipe? Is it left or right?
I can't say that on air, but I will say that I will take one for the team.
Okay. Well, that works. So yeah, no, I'm excited for you because, you know, I know how valuable it is to be able to take time off and to disconnect from work. I myself am looking forward to having, you know, Thanksgiving week off, and then the last week of December off. And Jay Bird over here has been scheduling some time off left and right because you know what it is? It's very crazy that we work in America and we work for companies and we live in a culture that prioritizes working, right? And trying to take time off.
We work to live instead of live
to work.
Did I fuck that up?
We live to work instead of work to live.
Correct.
Right. Yes. And so we prioritize working, and we very little or very seldom do we really prioritize the fact that, you know what, we're given paid time. We earn, not given. We earn our paid time off, and we should exercise our rights to take that paid time off and ensure that you are
taking care of yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Self-care is important.
Yeah. Like,
so I'm proud of you.
Honestly, like I've never done this before. I've never taken this much time off in a row. That said, I do have to work a couple days while I'm away, but whatever. But, you know, it's crazy because in America, you know, I talked to a good friend of mine that works at another company that's an international company, and he's like, yeah, everybody takes like almost
the entire month of August.
Yeah, off. And I was like, that's insane. And he's like, but everybody's so much happier out there. I'm like, but you know what that does, right? So here, we're almost afraid to ask for time off.
Yeah.
Like there's this like the stigma of work guilt, this stigma that like, oh, if you take time off, like you're not producing for the company. No, motherfucker. Like I just got a $5 million grant. I'm taking fucking 2 weeks off. Like I'm producing for the goddamn company. You know what I mean? Like we just have to have faith in the work that we're doing. Like, and I struggle with this all the time. Like we have to have faith in the work that we're doing so that we don't feel that way, but it's just like
I'm always yelling at you.
It's a culture.
Like I always yell at you because you know it's like, Nick, disconnect. You're done. It's 8 o'clock at night. Stop. Right. I often do that. You know, and I start
he yells
thinking.
At me a lot,
I do.
Just so you guys know out there. Like,
I do.
It's an abusive.
Because I love him.
It's borderline abusive.
But I because I love him, and
I do the same thing with my best friend, with Tony.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll hit him up 8, 9 o'clock, and I gotta get this work email. Are you getting? I always tell him, are you getting paid for this?
Right?
No,
Are you getting paid for this? Because if it's not, that shit could wait till tomorrow morning when you're back on the clock.
Yeah, but that's the thing. And like that's what sucks about being non-exempt salary. Like,
no, you're paid.
You have to set your boundaries.
Non-exempt salary, you're still salary. You're paid for X amount of hours.
Right.
Right.
Anything above and beyond that doesn't get paid.
Right, but it also depends on like the, you know, like our so for example,
per my previous email,
as per our employee handbook, if I work over a certain amount of time, it takes a certain amount of time before I get comp time. Yeah. So like I hit 40 hours, I don't get comp time if I'm working past 40 hours unless I hit another
10 or 12 hours after that.
Right.
So here's the thing. So there is nothing wrong with you setting boundaries, even when you're a salaried exempt employee, right? So on average, the average salaried employee will work at least 44 hours a week. Mm-hmm. That is what is typically expected, even though 40 hours is your typical work week. Anything beyond that, it's like you should be saying, hey, I saw your email yesterday. It was past, 6 p.m. I'm responding to it today. Like you should be able to set your own boundaries, and bosses and people who employ individuals should encourage that type of work ethic because
I'm not saying ladies deal with this.
Hold on.
My work day concludes at 5, but I will prioritize this first thing tomorrow. Okay?
My new mantra.
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
I like her.
I love her. I love her.
So my workday concludes at 5, but I will prioritize this first thing tomorrow.
And that's exactly
That's
it.
it.
Oh, I'm not chastising you for how you choose to work. Obviously, you work, you do a great job, and you're good at what you do.
Also, my job's a little weird because I have shows, and so there's evenings, and it's just like
Right. So
but those evenings you already know you're scheduled to work because of that event.
them bitches.
Right.
But
Just
it's,
know your value, know your worth, and know that you also need to be able to disconnect.
Yeah, I'm like, girl,
And
I'm not gonna name names, but they are giving me grays.
Yeah.
And having, for example, work email on your personal phone.
Cannot. I won't.
Not unless they're gonna pay for your phone bill.
I'll turn it off when I go away for the first week, but I can't. I cannot.
Yeah. And, that's just, that's how I feel about it. And I don't know how anybody feels if you want to.
My coworker is great about it. She is so good about it. Like she has such hard, no. She won't even respond to a text, even if it's like a personal thing, until the next day, which is fine. Like I'm never, ever would ever like.
And you respect that.
Yeah, I respect that. But
because she set her boundaries, you should do the same.
It's harder when you're at a different
Doesn't
level and it's just different.
It doesn't matter. You're not on the clock at 10 o'clock at night.
I'm sorry. If I'm not going to say names, but if the CEO were to message you at 6 o'clock at night and say, I need you, it's very important.
I would punch in because I would make buku money and
you would
then
respond.
Call him.
I don't get to punch in.
And then call him because they should know better, right? Per my contract, you call me in after hours, that's short notice. You know,
at that point, for us as a union member,
I make that decision as to
off.
whether or not I want to accept, right? But no, I wouldn't even respond. I wouldn't. I would call the next day at 6 o'clock in the morning. Oh my God, is everything okay?
Sorry, I was dealing with my booty hole.
Are you okay? I was getting my booty hole plowed. You know, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
How is you?
Anyway, enough of that. But yeah, we do
clearing out some old pipes.
Yeah, we
But
do
anyway.
live in a culture of work guilt, and I'm trying to move away from that.
Break away from that.
I will help you in any which way I can. I will continue to encourage that behavior in you because it is healthy.
Yeah, but pay time. Yeah, it's paid time off. You get paid to take your time. So
Exactly.
take that. Yeah, I did the same thing. I booked. I'm off like the week of Thanksgiving as well. Yeah, a few days prior to that, so I'll be gone like almost 15 days. My first stint, and then Christmas. Between Christmas and New Year's, I took some time off as well. And I'll be gone almost 16, 17 days from the office.
That's
and
amazing.
And I was like, I need time away. And
Right.
I emailed my boss today. I was like, this is what I'm looking at taking off, and people will be available during those days. So, there shouldn't be an issue with coverage. He was like, okay, enjoy your time off.
It's so funny because when I mentioned to like all of the directors at my job, I was like, yeah, no, I'm off for 2 weeks in November. They were like, what?
Yep.
Like, it was almost like, what?
Really?
Like,
You're taking time off?
What? And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm gone for 2 weeks. I'll be at that one board meeting, but I mean, that's it.
Yeah, no, I carried over 3 vacation days from my previous year.
I still have like 1.5 days left.
Not this year.
I left just in case.
I'm using them all.
Yeah.
I'm using them all. I'm adding 3 more Mondays.
Well, I lost a
Between
week.
now and
Yeah.
December.
I lost a week the year prior,
Right.
due to my medical whole thing. So,
Oh, yeah.
so I lost a week. So this year I'm like, I don't care. I'm taking it all. I'm taking it all. So
the moral of the story, folks, is to take your PTO. Make sure that you're taking your PTO, your personal time. Use your sick time wisely to navigate, any appointments you may have. Just use it. Use it.
Trust me.
It's because you're just a number. They really don't care about you. And when you're gone, they'll replace you with someone else who's more younger and more hungrier and will cast you down.
And gayer.
And gayer.
It was so funny the other day. I don't know what was said, but I had somebody reach out to me about a job, and I'm interested in the job, and then they sent me the job description. They were like, if you're interested, please apply. And I don't know what happened, but my boss said something to me, and I looked at him. I was like, look, I got job offers, so you say, let me know. You want me to go? Let me know.
I'll do this.
Bye.
Bye. I cannot with her. But no, it is healthy. So, just know that. And especially, the holiday season is coming. It's an important time, especially after being cooped up for 2 fucking years.
Doesn't that feel like yesterday?
Yes. It's sad to think that it's been 3 years since we officially announced that COVID was a thing, right? In the month of March of 2020, we started shutting things down, and here we are.
Been 4.
It's 2023 now.
I
We're
know.
about to go into 4 years now. This upcoming
that's
2024.
Right, that's right.
It's crazy. So, if there was something that we learned with our experience with COVID, at least in this generation and the people that lived through this pandemic, is to not take things for granted, because you just never know. And I don't know about you, but I learned so much throughout COVID of what I didn't need in life. Right? There were so many things that I used to work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
7 days a week. I did that for 14 years, right? Worked my Monday through Friday, worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday at a bar for 14 years.
Yeah.
And then the bars shut down. I didn't need the money. Well, lied. Maybe I did need the money, but I didn't miss the money. And so when it was time to reopen those bars, I was like, yeah, no, I'm done.
Yeah, well.
I'm done.
Yeah. Paul asked me to cover a shift this weekend. And originally I was going to work on the Sunday, but then somebody else took it, which was, I'm like, whatever, fine.
Right.
Like, I'll celebrity bartend whenever. And then he goes,
Celebrity.
well, I guess that would be like not celebrity, but like
A guest bartender.
I don't know. Anyway, so
Cameo.
he's
A cameo.
I was like,
appearance.
no, I'm sorry, I've got a show that day, so I can't. And then he's like, well, when does the show end? I'm like, well, I should be getting out around like 9:30. He's like, yeah, well, the shit doesn't start till 9. I was like, do you not understand? That's why I quit. Like, I quit because I work all day. I'm not working all night too.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so it's important. It is.
Anyway, that was so like, not gay enough. Let's cover something gay before we go to break.
Okay. So what do you want to cover? Do you have something lined up, or do you want me to go and bring the mood down? Well, not necessarily down. I mean, I think it's wonderful news coming from Orlando, Florida. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So the city of Orlando, officials in the city of Orlando, specifically the mayor, has submitted a bid or have plans to purchase the site of the Pulse nightclub shooting. And the reason for that is to ensure, obviously, that nothing else happens to that site, but mainly because there has been a long fight about the future of that Pulse Club location. And it's about to be resolved because the city of Orlando is, in a sense, bidding to be able to buy the property. Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer announced on Wednesday that he wants the city to make an offer for the site of the 2016 Pulse shooting, which is still the deadliest attack on the LGBTQ plus community in American history. The Orlando City Council on Monday will consider offering $2 million for the club. The plan from that point would be to construct a somber memorial on the location. And obviously creating the memorials for the victims of the tragedy has been a challenging endeavor because the current plans for the memorial to be built somewhere besides the actual Pulse site has been, in a sense, controversial. But I mean, what do you do other than build a memorial where this happened and not allow any other business to eventually, erect another structure there? It is
I
one
don't
of
know, that's tough. Part of me is like reopen the club.
I mean, I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know. That's
Well, part of me is like,
all right. So I think just kind of seeing the way things go with certain things, I think a lot of new people might show up,
Right.
just curious, and that may die down. So
Right.
depending on the business that reopens, they might have an okay beginning, but that may die down.
Right.
People that were patrons of that specific club at some point,
Yeah.
that were there that night
Right.
are not probably gonna even want to set foot.
Right. And who's
Yeah,
to say that you won't have another,
Some ass,
some
trying to-
asshat trying to be a copycat,
Yeah.
in the new space.
So it's an iffy subject.
Right.
there's also like a part of me that's like almost standing up and saying we're not closing our doors, right? So there's like it's like a double-edged sword. Yes, I think a memorial would be beautiful and serve its purpose in a way, but at the same time there's something to be said about reopening and saying, we're still here, we're still queer, and
Right.
you can attack us, but we're not going to back down.
Like, I'm almost thinking that, it could be some sort of like a combination, right? Like, build your memorial and then also build an adjacent, LGBTQ plus center that offers services to community members and youngsters in that Orlando area, right? So that, you can take a tragedy and make, and come up with something that still benefits the community regardless of how horrible that day was, right? I don't think a club is going to do that.
Yeah.
No, I know. I think it's just like no.
Yeah, but I think I think that Mayor Dyer is on the right track. I mean, in my opinion, I think it's the best thing to do. I don't think that that site should be allowed to be sold to a developer or anything like that. I think that the city in this case is doing the right thing. Will taxpayers feel like spending $2 million of taxpayer money on buying
In Florida.
in Florida. Would they feel that that's adequate or that that's warranted or even, something that they should do? That's a different story because given the nature of politics in Florida right now, it's very it's a very touchy thing.
I would, honestly, almost like if I were the owner, I don't know exactly where the money is going to, like who they're buying it from,
right.
But obviously, take a portion of the money, make sure that you're okay. But $2 million is a lot. Like, take a portion of it, do something special with it, do something for the community, make it worth people paying taxes for it. That may not sound that. That's not right, but like
we'll build something that will give back to the community.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, like I'm working. So currently, we're looking at honoring the previous executive director at our next gala, and I couldn't figure out what the hell I wanted to do. Right, I couldn't figure out like giving them a chair, great, whatever. But we decided that we want to move forward, and we're going to go ahead and set up a scholarship fund for kids that want to go into the arts,
right.
In his name. And like something like that, right? Something that can make a difference in the community would be something really great coming from the whole thing.
That whole tragedy. Yeah. I agree. All right. Well, that was an interesting thing, but thank you to the mayor of the city of Orlando for taking an interest in ensuring that that site is protected in some way. But what we're going to do now is we do have to take a break because we do have our guests coming on the show shortly after. So I am going to, just take that break, and we are
going to take that break.
Yes, we will be. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gents, welcome back from the break. Thank you. We needed that little respite to sort of kind of recharge. We're just waiting on our guests to join us on the live stream, so we're gonna go ahead and just chit chat for a little bit more and wait for the great doctor to join us. So while we do that, can y'all comprehend the shit show that's going on in the House of Representatives right now? We have no speaker. We still have no speaker. Like, you would think
2 votes, 2 names.
Maybe I should run for speaker. You know me, I love to speak.
That's a hard pass.
Come on, Nick. Would you support me?
No.
Maybe.
Jaybird?
Compared to what we've already witnessed, can't get any worse.
It can't get any worse. I mean, I think I'm pretty pragmatic, don't you think?
No.
Oh my God. No, I love them. I love them. So, no, it's a shit show, man. So they're on vote number 2. I think Rep Jordan, which is a hard right-liner. JJ is, put his name in the hat twice in a row now, and twice he's been turned down. And then there's Hakeem Jeffries. Obviously, he's the leader, the minority leader in the Democratic Party, who keeps getting 212 votes. And all he needs is 4 Republicans to sort of kind of shift over. And can you imagine if a House of Representatives controlled by the Republican Party ends up with a de facto speaker from the Democratic Party? I don't think that's ever happened in history.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
We're a nation of many firsts, so
I
wouldn't be
it's
surprised
weird.
at this point.
It's been somebody's calling me on my cell phone. Okay, hello.
This might be us.
Hello?
Can't
yes.
say
that. Oh, you know what? Let me resend you the link. I'm gonna text it to you to this number right now. Okay.
Here we go.
We're gonna add a guest. Okay, let's see. We're gonna copy this link.
Oh my God, I love everything about it.
Yeah,
it's like a Zoom meeting.
This is what
literally. So I had a board meeting this past week, last week, and my coworker sent out a different link than we had created for the meeting. And so I had started the meeting, but no one was joining. And now we're like 5 minutes in. I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, oh shit.
Wrong link.
So I had to start another meeting. Oh my God.
It's what happens. You do a live show, things happen. Difficulties. But you know what? We're going to get him the link now. And so hopefully this will work. Let me go into the notes and do that. See, this is what happens when you do a live show, people. You just never know how things are just going to end up. So I'm going to copy the link.
And just say Google Chrome.
And then I'm going to go ahead and message this phone number. And
this whole process is almost as difficult as laryngologist. We spent, 5-10 minutes just making sure we pronounced it correctly?
Laryngologist, right.
And I think the issue with us is because we're bilingual. I don't know about you, but I still think in Spanish a lot of the times, even though I've been speaking English for years.
Right.
I'm starting to think in Spanish. Let's be honest. That Halloween costume that I sent you guys.
Yeah.
I would do it.
Muerte de what was it? Muerte de concleta? Chancleta.
Yeah.
Oh, the one with the
chancleta sticking out the head?
With the flip flop. Oh
Yes.
my God. That's amazing. Hopefully he'll get this link. He can probably join from his phone. And muerte por chancleta. I would love that.
Chancleta, yeah.
Yeah. You should totally.
I
wear the
literally
flip-flop.
saw it and thought of you.
So,
actually, I thought of your mom, but
my mom throwing a flip flop at me. Of course, how Puerto
not
Rican
necessarily
of her.
you, but one of the men in her life.
All right, well, listen, we got Dr. Mendelsohn on, which is great, fantastic. Let me just get him on the live stream here. Dr. Abie Mendelsohn, thank you so much for joining us. Our apologies for all the technical difficulties, because
I'm old. That's just the way it works.
No. So are we. So you're fine.
Yeah. So, Dr. Mendelsohn, you are a laryngologist, obviously a throat expert. You've been doing a lot of great work and at the forefront of advanced techniques for conditioning of the mouth and throat. And you're here to talk about, your work with gender affirming voice surgery and also your continuing work with the transgender community. So welcome to the show and thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us tonight.
Of course.
And because
this
you're
is
brand
so
new,
important.
I'll pause for a second. I'm Nick.
And
Hi,
I'm
Nick.
Jay.
That's Tom.
Hi, Tom. I have a confession to make. I did listen to an episode from a couple weeks ago.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
No, are you kidding me? It was fantastic because that was the episode that you guys had just experienced the bomb threat. And
Yes.
I was like, this is exactly what we need to be doing. This is great. We just need to be having these conversations and understanding that there's way too much hate in this world. So kind of loved it and kind of got to know you guys a little bit. So it's fun to be able to see you guys.
I love how he says kinda. I loved it. That's okay. But we love you. Thank you for joining us.
That was a hard episode. It was.
That was tough.
Yeah.
That was no joke. No joke.
So before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself so that our listeners can get to know you a little bit more, and then we'll jump right into our questions.
Please. Okay. So my name is Abie Mendelsohn. First name is like the alphabet, Abie, short for Abraham. Let's see. Grew up in San Diego. Went to UCLA Medical School. Went to UCLA residency for either ear, nose, and throat, otolaryngology, head and neck surgery. They're all the same exact thing. And within ear, nose, and throat, usually some people can choose either ear, nose, or throat. And I chose the throat. I think what makes us human, our voice, our speech, our ability to eat and drink. I just think that that's just kind of the core essence of who we are. And so it just fascinates me in terms of how it works. And so I chose that as a subspecialty. I did advanced training both at UCLA as well as in Belgium, where I think someone is still vacationing, and came back and joined the UCLA faculty, was there for about 12 years. And then recently just joined an incredible group in the Los Angeles community called the LA Center for ENT, easy enough to remember. And here I am, just really trying to spread the word. My first exposure to gender affirming care was actually back in fellowship in Europe. Obviously, in a lot of the progressive areas, really for leading the fight ahead of the United States. But I came back and really wasn't able to practice a lot of what I was hoping to do, just because a lot of people don't have bags of cash to pay for this. And finally, it's been only since, I would say about 4 years ago, we really started to see, insurance companies understanding that this is not cosmetic. This is not something that people are just, choosing on a whim. This is care that they absolutely need and deserve, and finally getting the coverage that is overdue.
Mm-hmm. So I want to talk a little bit about gender affirming voice surgery, because I didn't even know that was a thing. So can you explain a little bit, what is the process with that? And honestly, what is it?
What is happening? So when we think about anyone who transitions, meaning their gender is not the same as the assigned sex at birth, their life is extremely challenging for so many different ways, and I can't even begin to fathom. I've had a front row seat, but as a cis individual, I really just don't understand. But what we attempt to do across the board, across almost every aspect, whether it's internally, hormonally, whether it is or isn't regarding the genitalia, which honestly, it is a totally individual decision to make any changes. Every aspect of who we are really has some aspect of our gender tied into it. And really, even before the COVID years, but certainly once the masking started and virtual meetings really came into our mainstay, our voice is what tells people who we are. We have our masks on, people can't really see. We can certainly wear our hair in any different ways. But to understand who someone is, a lot of times we just pick up the phone and we're speaking to a man, we're speaking to a woman, we're speaking to a boy, we're speaking to a girl. We can tell generally someone's age just by a few words on the phone. And we do this subconsciously. We don't even understand it. And it's incredibly painful if I pick up the phone and say, hi, sir, how are you? And I'm speaking with a woman, and whether that woman is cis or trans, it's hurtful. It's not just hurtful, it's downright traumatic, particularly when someone is still trying to understand who they are. For me, Abie is a lot of times misread as Abby, and people call me Miss Abie Mendelsohn. For me, it doesn't bother me. I'm good. You want to call me Miss Abie Mendelsohn? No problem. I certainly know that you're probably a telemarketer, but if someone is really trying to understand who they are, really going through that, and that's an area that is a particular concern for them. Misgendering someone on the phone, even if I'm a well-meaning person, can be really, really traumatic. So much to the point where a lot of our transgender individuals just won't use the phone. I mean, right. Or won't use Zoom, or won't go through a drive-through window. And that's really just the tip of the iceberg when we think about the impact that we have, let alone as you guys have covered plenty in terms of the actual hate that's out there.
So let me ask you a question. So politically, right now, gender affirming care is under attack in a lot of different spaces, in a lot of different states, in a lot of different state houses. How does a program like yours, based out of California, for example, interact with a potential patient in a state in where gender affirming care is banned?
Yeah. First and foremost, it's really tough to be on the sidelines watching what's going on in terms of legislating hate into many of our states and even federally. And so that's been difficult. I am embarrassed to say I'm somewhat of a not a real soldier in this fight. Why? I only treat adults. I don't treat children. It's just not part of my practice, cis or trans. And I don't perform surgeries that could be misconstrued as what people incorrectly call, disfiguring or sterilization, all these trigger words that people are using in the media. So what I do in my trach shave patients, my vocal feminization patients, these are considered, I would say, somewhat on the outer aspects in terms of what's really going on in the meat and potatoes when we think about, you have these really hateful people saying, death penalty for anybody who sterilizes a child, and that sort of thing. I'm not involved in that. I'm certainly crying on the sidelines, but it's been tough. It's an emotional journey for anybody, and particularly those who it affects directly.
Mm-hmm. So, thinking about your journey in general, first I would say that you are on the front lines, and I think that the work that you do is more than, what you assume it is. I think people, and I know individuals currently that are going through their transition and their surgeries and the struggles that they're going through, like a service like this for them would be life-changing. It would change their world. So all that said, right, how did you find yourself on this journey where you are now looking at actually helping somebody adjust the way they speak?
So philosophically, and then we can talk about like how it actually happens, but philosophically for me, I'm a Jewish individual. I also happen to be cis and straight. It's really weird. So everyone's like, well, why are you even bothering
he's
with
straight? Hold on.
Yeah, sorry. Is that do we have to go?
I'm joking.
Is that it? Is that the end of the conversation?
No,
Of
not
course
at all.
not.
Not
You know,
at all.
it's like, oh,
Not at all.
that's weird.
All are welcome here.
There, I appreciate that. Thank you. So for me, I was first, again, I'm here, I'm a doctor, anybody can help. Why really this is an area which, again, I'm trying to get the word out. And this is an area of particular importance to me because for me, I get to operate on hate. And I've been a victim of hate for who I am and what I believe in and how I practice my life. And if I can help one individual avoid that or protect them in any way, it's a privilege. Certainly it's my job, it's my duty as a physician to do that. But why it's so important to me, because like you guys are saying, it is a incredible opportunity to see someone's life absolutely getting turned from not being not very good to all of a sudden being something that's something that everybody can be proud of. And so for me, it's just been a blessing. And a little bit I got involved and then get a little more and see a few more patients and learning more about what it means to do a good tracheal shave on an Adam's apple. I thought, well, I take a really big Adam's apple and turn it into a little Adam's apple. I'm like, yeah, I totally did it. And then all of a sudden I had this wonderful patient and she came post-op and she's like, of course, so grateful. And she turned to me, she goes, but I still have an Adam's apple. And it just like hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, okay, maybe I still have a lot to learn here.
Right.
So it's been a journey for me. Certainly when we talk about vocal feminization or even vocal masculinization, we can also talk about as well for our trans men.
I usually don't talk about, the process, right? And it's very hard when you're, for example, addressing members of our community, specifically the transgender community, right? You don't want to, in a way offend anyone, for trying to be who they are. But can you speak a little bit about the process itself, right? Like, what does one have to go through, that journey, before you get to that point where you actually go through the procedure itself?
Perfect. So listen, across the board, for any medical procedure, the best surgery is no surgery. So if we can somehow reach our goals without surgery, that's always going to be our first line. So when we think about voice feminization, really, because it's the vast majority, and the reason why, just take a quick aside, depending on what paper you read, about 60 to 70% of our trans men can reach their vocal goals with their testosterone therapy alone, with hormonal therapy, and that's just not true with estrogen or feminization hormonal therapy. We do not see reliably any type of voice changes. So a lot of the conversation is really speaking to vocal feminization for our trans women. The best surgery is no surgery. And so it's not necessarily hurdles that anybody needs to go through. It's generally speaking, just a conversation. Come in either on video or to the office. And we just sit there and we just have a conversation. Hey, what's going on? And so many of my patients know, I have two questions when I sit down into a room or when I sign on to a Zoom, which is, what's your preferred name? Do you have preferred pronouns? And then that's it. And then the rest of it's time, I'm just listening. And I'm saying, what's going on in your life? What's happening? What is preventing you from living a full and confident and happy life? Have you been a victim of trauma or violence or hate in your life? I'd love to hear about that if that's something you feel comfortable sharing with me. And generally, again, if the motivation has been to make a consultation for voice, again, it's usually a pretty common story about, cold sweats right before you pull up to a drive-through window, inability to function professionally, withdrawal from any type of social interactions just because my voice is not a reflection of who I am. And again, going back to the data, at least 50% of our trans women can reach all of their vocal goals, including their pitch, with voice therapy alone, which means they don't need me. I'm here as support. I'm here to listen. I'm here to make sure that any insurance authorization paperwork can get filled out. But I'm actually not doing physically anything to that person, which is fantastic. I tell them I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader if that happens. I don't need surgeries. Be great if one day there's just no need for any more surgeries, and that's great. And that means we win. But like we said, 50% of our trans women, despite doing everything they can in voice therapy, just can't get there. And a lot of times, depending on body size and height and how large the vocal cords are, because masculine vocal cords are longer and thicker than women's vocal cords, there's just structurally sometimes nothing to be done except for really going in there and doing a potential procedure. There have been a host of different surgical approaches, but the approach that I use has been one that's been described out of South Korea. The surgeon over there has done over 500 vocal feminization surgeries. So a very large center for medical tourism. It's a Yisan Voice Clinic. I really encourage the audience. They have a wonderful website. They have a really nice Instagram. They don't have a large following, but I certainly do follow them, and they post some really nice before and afters. And basically what we do endoscopically, meaning through the mouth, there's no cuts on the skin, is the best analogy I've come up with is like putting a capo on the end of a guitar. A guitar has ability to play a lot of different sounds, but if you put a capo, all the strings now are just a little bit elevated in their pitch.
Right.
And that's what we do endoscopically with some stitches.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
It's so cool.
So I just want to go back a little bit and then talk more about the actual procedure. But when somebody comes to you and most of them are already on hormones, I'm assuming, or blockers of some kind, how do you go about then working with whoever is already prescribing them this medication to get them to that goal that you're looking for before actually performing a procedure?
So I actually don't have hormonal goals or needs. So again, back to like my comment about being a tourist, I can act independently. I actually have a few patients, a few trans women that are just not on hormonal therapy. That's not a requirement. We cannot expect that they'll get any benefit from a vocal improvement from hormonal therapy. That's different than our trans men. If I had an opportunity to meet perhaps a recently transitioned man who was not on testosterone therapy, I would first make that referral and get them hooked up with either an endocrinologist or a family practitioner who specializes in gender affirming care to make sure that they started safely on testosterone therapy. So from a hormonal standpoint, I always like to know what they're on, obviously, just to get a good understanding. When I first started learning about gender affirming care, there's like a cookbook approach. It was like, okay, first you're going to go on hormones, and then you're going to get top surgery, and then you're going to bottom surgery, and then you're going to do this, and then you're going to facial femme, and then lastly you do voice therapy, and you go through and check box that list. And that's just not the way that the world works. I mean, every individual has something different. And so it's just really for us, the medical community, to say, okay, here's everything that's available to you, and let's understand the risks and benefits, and what are you ready to do, and understand that these are not expiring offers, and this is not like, oh, hurry up, or you won't get the surgery. And I've heard some crazy stories, really, from my patients from other experiences, and it's just it's unfortunate, and it would be funny if it wasn't so sad.
So, given the specialization in gender affirming care, do you or other doctors within your practice are part of any consortium or organization of doctors that offer a variety of services? Is there hey, go to this website and you're going to see all of the doctors that we work with to sort of kind of give you a well-rounded service in a sense for you to be able to find what you need?
I know what you're asking. One day will be where what you're describing, in terms of really saying, okay, here's all of the resources that are available to you, specifically for my patients who are out of state. It was really almost, I would say, a year and a half ago. We were trying to get a young girl out from Alabama, and it was just horrible to understand. There were just no resources. There were just no resources available for her, and so one day that's gonna be possible. Right now, in terms of the consortium, the WPATH, the world, that's the World Organization for Gender Affirming Care. The WPATH organization has annual meetings internationally. They publish standards of care for gender affirming care, and that's publicly available. They literally just redid their guidelines within the last 12 months, updated with all the recent data, evidence demonstrating just exactly what we're talking about. This is not just someone's whim. This is scientifically demonstrated to improve lives. And so there's just no two ways about it. So there is a consortium, but the resource lists depends on where the person lives.
Wow. And sadly, unfortunately, given the nature of politics in this country, and how certain religions in a sense interject themselves in political arenas, can affect heavily how those resources can be accessed in certain states. Now, obviously you've been doing this now for quite a while. Is there an instance or a patient success story that you have that is that sticks with you in particular?
I can think of a few who really we really were able to get like that teary moment where again, either after vocal surgery or tracheal shave, I literally call in the staff, not to point and jab, but so we can all like almost hug and just celebrate this victory together. We've done that several times, and sometimes it's just like so impactful. Like everybody's like, okay, I'm taking the rest of the day off. We're all going out. But I would say the one experience that really kind of shines, and again, unfortunately, it's built on tragedy, but this was actually just before the surgery, and we're positioning and making sure everything's padded, and there were just like these horrible lines of scar right across the wrist, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out what those were, and it was just so I don't know, it was like just a ton of bricks falling on my head in terms of different emotions that we're going through. But overall, it was so empowering to me to know just how much good we're doing. And if that was just the only person that and that was for a vocal feminization surgery, and if that's the only thing that person needed, and I could somehow turn that around from their suicide attempts to living a full and happy life, and just retire and call it a day, and we're good. But obviously we're not ready to stop just yet.
God, he's making me emotional.
He gets emotional very quickly. Well, that's first and foremost, you very well know, knowing that you're working directly with members of our community, and it's specifically a subgroup of our community, the transgender community. You know how prevalent, attempts at suicide, and actually successful people that have actually been successful in taking their lives because of the hurdles and because of the walls that society builds in not wanting to allow them to just be who they want to be.
And it's only getting worse with this political climate right now.
It's always good to be able to feel that you make a change in someone's life that could potentially be life-changing, as we say. It's not an easy thing because, even outside of just the trans community, even in the rest of our subgroups, you have people, for example, that live in states where they make it impossible for you to even just exist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And what is your message as an individual who's offering services to a specific subset of our community, to those individuals that are going through challenges right now?
Wow. It's a great question. There are so many. Well, first and foremost, I think the most important thing, honestly, I'm going to turn it right back around at you guys. And I would say, listen to more podcasts, listen to episodes and to programs like this to understand you're not alone. Right. Because can I go in there and raise your pitch 100 hertz? Sure, no problem. But it's just a drop in the bucket. It's a drop in the bucket when you think about, feeling alone, feeling isolated, feeling depressed, and feeling like there's no hope in this world. But understanding that there's unfortunately always going to be challenges, and certainly a lot of these problems are not going to be fixed in our generation. I hope they do, but I honestly don't think it's gonna be anytime soon that they're really fixed. We'll make strides, we'll make improvements, but we're not going to fix them just quite yet. They need to understand you're not alone. You're not alone, and however bad it is, wherever you are, there are a lot of people in very different locations that are going through the exact same thing. And if you can in any way, and God, there's so much evil in social media, but there's also so much good in social media. Yeah. There's so much ability to reach out and connect when you feel isolated and alone. And I think that message can save lives. But certainly would love to talk to you too, if there's anything I can do to help.
Well, I mean,
are we making him emotional?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Oh, I'm such a teddy bear. No, it's not even. It's
I
not
know.
even
I kind of want to reach out and hug you right now.
Group hug.
Yeah.
Before I have to say, I just want to ask one more question. I'm just going to ask another question.
Yes, go right ahead.
So we talked a little bit about the procedure, but we really didn't talk about the recovery time, right?
Yes.
And we also mentioned earlier that, over time, your voice changes. Mm-hmm. So when you think about the recovery time and the effects of the surgery, what can someone expect when recouping, and then moving forward in life? Will they expect to have the surgery again, or?
Amazing. Okay. So the reason why I choose to only offer the procedure that has been described out of the USAN Voice Clinic, it's got a really long, complicated name. It's just annoying, but it's shortened term is called vocal feminization surgery, glottoplasty. The reason why I choose this is because it has long-term effects, meaning this should be lifelong. This should not require any additional surgical procedures, no touch-ups or anything. Really, we're seeing decades long. And so from that standpoint, it really should be one and done. Now, you may go from sounding like a young woman to an old woman. That's okay, because as you go along in life, that's just unfortunately what happens to some of us. We just get older and older. But that is not an expectation. In terms of the actual procedure, the procedure is actually not painful. It's relatively quick. It takes about an hour. Go home the same day. The recovery is really mainly centered or focused around the voice rest that's required. Because we're manipulating, stitching the vocal cords, we can't have you talking. Dr. Kim, who is the designer and author of this approach in South Korea, he recommends 4 weeks of complete and utter voice rest. I kind of disagree with him. I think that's a little bit more than necessary, but I do recommend 2 weeks of absolutely no talking. And that is a long time to go with no talking. Thankfully, texting. There's a lot of ways to go around writing, throwing things. Just don't talk. You get your point across pretty well. After those 2 weeks, start voicing. During the surgery, however, has been my practice, and I believe Dr. Kim is doing this as well, is we inject Botox into the vocal cords, and Botox from a wrinkle standpoint will take away those wrinkles, but it weakens the muscles which cause the wrinkles. When I inject into the vocal cords, it actually weakens the vocal cords on purpose to limit someone's ability to accidentally mess things up, so they can stay safe. So when they start speaking 2 weeks later, the voice is kind of meh, and that's a lot of the swelling as well as the Botox. And we really see a slow improvement over the next 3 months. And really, from the day of surgery until about 3 months, it's pretty good. And that 3 months, it's just remarkable what the outcomes are.
It's amazing what Botox can do, man.
Literally.
You can literally
Botox
inject Botox into a chicken breast and it's cooked.
Yes.
You're done.
Oh, absolutely. There's
I love
nothing it
Botox.
can't do. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if you know, we have another doctor that comes on the show like every couple of months now.
Love.
I love Dr. G, but we always talk about putting Botox in our butts. So
Yeah. He's a proctologist. We call him our butt whisperer. So
I don't see why not.
It's insane. It's insane. But what I would like to say to you, Mr. Mendelsohn, Dr. Mendelsohn, excuse me.
So horrible.
He earned that. What I would like to say to you is, in having a conversation with you today here on the show, I can visibly see your compassion for what you do and for our community. And I think that if it hasn't been said, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to, as a cisgender male who's straight, taking the time to learn about one of the most vulnerable subsections of our community, and for offering a service and educating yourself and being a human, because that in itself alone is value. It's valuable. It's gold, because you may not be able to provide all of these services that you obviously specialize in, but being human is free. Being compassionate about someone's situation, there's no cost to that. And I feel that your intentions in helping members of our community is genuine, and your compassion really just comes through vocally and in emotionally. It's just insane.
Yeah.
So thank you.
No, of course. Like I said, it really is. It's cliche and it sounds trite, but it is a privilege. My life is better. My kids brag about it all the time, what I get to do. It's just something real special. We did a trach shave this afternoon in a surgery center that had never seen gender affirming care. And so not only did we help our trans individual who had a stellar tracheal shave, but every single person who worked there, whether it was our front desk folks, whether it was the nurses, whether it was the anesthesiologist, everybody left today just a little bit better. And it was so cool.
That's amazing. And I think we're going to leave today's episode just a little bit better.
I'll keep going if you want me to, or you can cut me off, because I have other things I want to ask him. But
Well, go for it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, fine. I'll ask 2 more things. Oh, I'm so bad.
There's a reason I don't talk much during interviews sometimes.
Yeah,
As you can tell,
it's so
Trish
bad.
has all the good questions.
Not all
I
the
try.
time.
Gotta throw things. Get some tennis balls and start.
Tossing them at
Toss it at the wall, see if it sticks.
Hit it with the cup.
So one of my questions was about that, the Adam's apple and shaving it.
Yes.
And I that's got to be extremely painful, and I don't know, it's like that. The thought of that scares me. What is that process like?
Yeah, so it doesn't feel good. It for sure is of the 2 feminizing surgeries that I offer, between the voice and the Adam's apple. It is the more intense recovery in terms of the pain. But that being said, generally speaking, when someone is living as a woman, and then something's not right, and again, whether it's just a well-intentioned but uneducated individual or someone looking for trouble, their eyes usually go straight to the neck.
Right.
Boom, bang, I'm not sure. how should I solve this mystery that actually has no business being my mystery, but I'm going to solve it anyway because I'm a detective here. Now I need to know what's in their pants, so I'm going to look at their neck, right? And so this is just, in my very biased opinion, just as impactful in terms of achieving gender affirming care. What is it? If someone's been hit in the throat, how hard it does. It hurts every time you swallow. If you got something stuck in your throat, having that for 7 to 10 days, that is not pleasant. There are pain meds, and there's ice, and then there's, re-encouraging words that this will be temporary and you'll get over it. You will recover. It's not the worst pain, but it's certainly not something to take lightly in terms of the recovery process. But yeah, it's important.
I was gonna say it's got to be like quite painful because you're literally shaving on something that is in constant move. Every time you swallow, it moves.
Yes.
Every time you move your neck, your head up and down, it moves. So, like, do you recommend that they sort of kind of, maintain a certain posture? Is that part of the recovery process? Don't swallow as much. Don't drink as much. Like, to reduce the pain,
No.
what do you do? What do you recommend?
Yeah. Just ice and pain medication. Actually, some of my patients will maintain like they won't move, but then like the muscles start to spasm and we get into trouble and other sources of pain in the recovery process. So no, I do want them to stretch, gentle massage, ice packs. Sometimes heat can be helpful as well. Surprisingly enough, even though it does move up and down, as long as nothing is actually hitting the neck, the front of the neck, swallowing is not that bad. It just feels swollen. It's not comfortable, but it's not painful like a sharp pain every time you swallow, like if you had strep throat or something like that. There's no question. If someone got their tonsils out, it is way more painful than a tracheal shave. Like way more painful.
Oh, then you can handle it. I've had that done.
So I think my only question would come down to sexual activities. How would
now we're talking
come into play?
Yeah. And that is not an infrequent question. Exactly. That is not an infrequent question. Yeah. And so there's a few things in terms of the recovery process, and this is going to be the same for both the tracheal shave as well as the vocal feminization surgeries, which is I don't want you in the gym for 2 weeks. You can pop a stitch, you can cause something to actually bleed internally. You gotta avoid strenuous exercise. And that includes sexual activity. So if something is stressful or strenuous exercise in terms of what happens in the bedroom or wherever the sexual activity might be taking place, then it's not something I want you to be doing for 2 weeks. And then the other question is about oral sex. Again, I can't have you coughing and gagging. Okay. So generally speaking, I say, it's probably the smartest thing just to hold off from oral sex for 2 weeks. And I sometimes get an eye roll. Sometimes I get an understanding nod. I get a
deep sigh.
I just literally sighed. I was just like,
But. Yeah. So I've gotten all sorts of reactions when I say that. I certainly have some partners in the room when I'm saying that in a similar type of kind of spectrum of reactions when we have to go through that. But it's just a very open and honest conversation, which is, hey, listen, there's very few people in this world who don't enjoy sex. And so it's stupid not to talk about it. Mm-hmm. But I also don't want you to damage something that we've worked so hard to get you to a certain point and then start you all the way back in the beginning. So it's not to say complete celibacy for 2 weeks, but again, I need you to not get too active, so to speak, in terms of exercise activity. And again, from a recipient oral sex, can't have that for 2 weeks.
Honestly, Jay, that was a great question.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now
it's a very frequent question. It's a very frequent question, I guess.
Yeah.
My head's always in the gutter.
Oh, yeah, we know. You're an HR issue. But so before we ask you to plug yourself and tell us where we can find you, because the short show is no longer a short show, I have to ask if you can answer a mystery for me. So if literally, I can't pass as a straight man when I speak. Okay. I cannot. Some men can. Some men can. And same thing with lesbians.
Yeah.
what is it the higher levels of estrogen in our bodies? Like, what is it that changes our voice in a way that makes us actually sound
the way we sound?
I don't think you have estrogen, but I do think that maybe you're lacking testosterone.
Whatever it is.
She's an estrogen rocket.
So I've another confession to make. I actually, the episode that I did listen to, I got the gay science at the beginning, and you were talking about that. It was fantastic. I was like, holy, yeah. I was like, how did you guys know that I would choose that one episode? It was crazy. You guys talked about hate and voice. I was like, this is crazy. So I'm thank you, because I was hoping we would actually cover that. And actually not only regarding, shall we say, the ability to out someone just based on their voice and speech patterns from a gay standpoint or queer standpoint, but it also relates to gender affirming care, because all the things that I've discussed in terms of the surgery and the stitches, the only thing that I can really do is change the pitch of the vocal cords in terms of the baseline and where they're able to do. But when you answer the telephone, regardless of who's calling, immediately your brain can tell you, again, the gender, and whether or not you're willing to like listen to your brain or not, that's a different story. But your brain will immediately assign a gender. But your brain can tell the difference between a very high-pitched male and a low-pitched female, meaning there are so many other factors that play into our ability to understand who we're talking to. And we think about speech patterns, we think about what's called resonance. That's where the voice echoes. I'm trying to demonstrate that I'm a macho guy, so I'm resonating my voice down here in my chest. As we go up into our face, that's considered in our society more and more feminine or effeminate. So that's resonant. Word choice. We talk about a little bit of a lisp that people can have. That could be thought as more of a feminine. So there's so many, it's so complex, which is why way back when we first got a chance to start talking, we talked about voice therapy, and voice therapy really covers all these other aspects. And so if this is something that you're, say, I would like to be able to be incognito, let's say. I would like to be somewhat of a mystery, and we can figure out what I am instead of, let's say, being openly identified as someone who is gay. That's more in the voice therapy standpoint. In all those aspects, there is a clear and scientific delineation between the word choices, or really even where men and women will stress certain vowels in certain words. It's wild in terms of the complexity. And so the question is, when does it stop becoming a gender thing? When does it stop becoming a sexuality thing? And there probably is just no line, and it's probably somewhere in the middle, and we've all just mimicked what we think that we should sound like in terms of what we want to be, whether it's a parent or someone else early on in life, and then we've just done that, or the friends that we associate with. So it's generally not pitch, what I would say, in terms of the quote unquote gay voice. It's more likely a lot of these other aspects or factors that our society would consider effeminate, and therefore piles on in terms of what would be considered that voice.
So would you say that, for example, going through something like voice therapy, right, to, in a sense, change the way you speak, would be similar to how actors, for example, go and learn different dialects and different accents?
Yes and no. So yes, there's a lot of similarities, because there is that training, there is that homework. You do have to put that work in. There's a lot. But I do want to point out a difference, which is specifically with our gender affirming voice therapy. It is not learning how to perform. You're not learning how to put on an act. You are actually going to retrain how you use your vocal cords and how you use your speech patterns. In other words, we are literally changing. It's almost like someone who has a lisp as a young kid, or I actually there I go right now. I actually, as a child, needed voice therapy for a stutter, and so the voice therapy or the speech therapy actually just changes the way that you speak so that you don't have that stutter, for instance, in my case. And so that's really the difference between that and, shall we say, coaching for like a role in a movie.
Wow. And in your opinion, obviously in your learned opinion, how long do you think going through these sessions will it take before you start realizing, okay, I'm getting to where I want to be? Like, how long is that process?
6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you may not reach the finish line in 6 weeks, but in 6 weeks, we'll have a really good understanding of what can and cannot be achieved through voice therapy. But that includes, again, you got to do your homework. You meet once a week with your voice therapist. You go home and you do what you've been asked to do. You put the time in, put that effort in. And yeah, the results can be amazing. And again, there's so many patients that just don't need me, and I love it.
And just so we're all clear here, like, I'm happy with my voice. I'm not changing anything. I mean, this homo's going to be a homo, so take it or leave it. But I thought it was an interesting, point of view.
Yeah, but that's what it is. Yeah.
It's a good point, though, because I mean, I can't tell you how many times, like when I used to work, I was in a position where I was working on the phone. I can't tell you how many times people be like, ma'am, and I'm like, I'm a sir.
Yeah.
It's
hurtful.
And it wasn't even as hurtful for me in a sense, but I can only imagine what it's like for someone who is trying to change in a sense, to better conform for themselves and see themselves as who they are, right? And going through that process, that can be very painful. And and unfortunately society doesn't make it easy for anyone, really.
No.
Which kind of sucks,
It's a mean world out there. It's a
Yes,
real
it is.
mean world, and we need to keep everyone safe around us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Mendelsohn, before we let you go, I would like for you to, as we call it, whore yourself out. Tell us how we can get a hold of you, how, give us websites, your Facebook, your Instagram, all that good stuff. We're going to put it on a post anyway.
There we go. I love it. Website will take you everywhere in terms of what to do, specifically if you want to call us, if you want to set up an out-of-state consultation. Website, www.laent, Los Angeles ENT, laent.com. Or if you want to see some cool before and afters of our endoscopic trach shaves that does not leave a scar on your skin, we can go to www.trachshave.com. That's really, really cool. We like that website. We're going to get more of that. So either website. My Instagram's got some nice before and afters. Really, I'm proud to say that I really have some brave patients coming out and just showing their recovery process, with their names. So my Instagram is my full name, which is just a lot of letters. So Abie _Mendelsohn _MD. That's my Insta. We have some really nice things up there. We're having one patient, Abby, she's posting a lot on how she's going through her recovery from vocal fem surgery. So she's doing great. So I get to share that and get to follow along with her on her Instagram page as well. So that's currently happening. So it's our Insta. And then again, through our website, you get our phone numbers. Anything you need, let us know. We're happy to help.
Also, yeah, and if Abby ever wants to join us with you on the show, we'd be more
Oh my
than
God.
happy.
Okay. I'll tell her. She's pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be great.
We can totally set that up. Yeah. And, as I always say, thank you again for joining us. And our show is open. Our doors are open for you. If you ever want to come back and talk about, give us updates on where you are.
Any new advancements.
Yeah. Any new advancements that you're making in your efforts to help.
As you can tell, I'll just keep talking. Keep talking. You guys don't have to shut me up.
Our new ventures over this way and maybe opening up some services in New York.
That's what I'm talking about. Sunny Connecticut, right?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
New York or Connecticut.
That was like a slight jab. It's okay.
I almost went to med school in Connecticut, but it wasn't to be. So I got to be a West Coast boy.
Yale? Would it have been Yale? Yeah. We probably would have met. Literally, we work at a gay bar that's like a block away from like the Yale campus. So we're constantly.
I may have just stopped. I remember going after the interview, stopping at a bar. Maybe it was yours. I had
You
a good
never
time.
know. You never know. More than welcome. Well, Dr. Mendelsohn, once again, thank you so
great.
much for your hard work, for your great work with our community, for your experience, and for taking time out of your day to join us on today's show.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Well, ladies and gents, Abie Mendelsohn, Dr. Abie Mendelsohn. Make sure that you check out tonight's episode. We're gonna get all of the socials and all that stuff, and certainly get that on tonight's post for you guys. But thank you for
That's awesome
for him
work.
joining
I mean,
I
you know,
like
and
him.
it's tough to find doctors that are concentrating on the LGBT community, and I think that in itself speaks volumes.
To be
Awesome,
honest,
awesome.
I was a little shocked when he said he was straight. And then when I said what I said, I was like, oh, God, I hope. I was joking.
I was
No, you're not. But here's what I will tell you. Obviously,
Awesome.
before we started recording today, I was in a state of like, oh.
yeah. Well, we can see you.
I think his voice like calmed
yeah.
you down a
It
bit.
calmed me the fuck down. I was like, yo, I mean, it's very weird, the power of speech and someone's demeanor.
Yeah,
It's
because
got
I come in
such a-
hot.
So I'll tell you right now, if he were a how would I say
One of those like
doctors, your
therapists.
no. If he were like, oh my God, your main doctor, what do you call him?
General doctor?
Practitioner.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay,
Like, what do
so-
you call?
Your general practitioner.
Right. If he was a general practitioner, right, that would be my doctor. Because I swear to God, we'd never get anything done in that office.
Oh.
We would be laughing our butts off.
You know your doctor listens to this show, right?
No, don't get me wrong. I love my doctor. I love my doctor. But
Tommy he feels comfortable speaking with him. and
I feel
you
comfortable
at
with my
ease.
current
Yeah.
doctor, with my current,
No, but I'm saying that with the conversation we had today.
Yeah,
he's-
no,
he's
he'd be
very
like, just keep
relaxed and very
Right.
Yeah,
You
easy
know,
to talk to. Easy
and-
to talk to. Definitely.
and most importantly, he's not even part of our community, and he's making an effort in life as a human to service members of our community and give them life-changing experiences, which is a great.
Yeah, it's funny when it's funny is not the right phrase, but it takes a marginalized community to care for other marginalized communities.
Right.
Like there are certain individuals that if they've never been affected by hate or discrimination or not having the same rights as as someone else, they just don't get it.
Right.
And
I thought about it, like when he said, I'm Jewish, and I thought about bringing up this
my
whole
God, it went through
situation.
my head too, but that would have been.
And I
a
was like, no,
whole-
I'm not going to do it, because that's going to be something, and I understand, right now anti-Semitism is at a point where it's scary. And for a person to be so selfless to help another community that's equally marginalized, or it's just incredible. So I'm excited. Thank you for booking him. We need to get him back on the show, and if he can come back on,
Jay, you heard that right? It was a thank you.
It was a thank you.
it was a
and
thank you,
and
bitch.
do it again.
Yeah,
Wow.
just don't give me like 5 guests in a row, because all of this.
You have two.
The anxiety level, unless Dr. Mendelsohn comes and sits here with us and calms me the fuck down. Once in a blue moon. Okay. I love you. All right. Well, anyway, we're going to wrap things up. So I'm going to toss it over to you, because it's your turn. So there you go.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Here's Mama Kim's Minute. Number 1, Navy awards heroism medal to the man who helped stop the Club Q shooter. Awesome. Number 2, Ron DeSantis humiliated as appeals court rules against his drag ban.
Yes.
Number 3, 25 years ago, Matthew Shepard's death changed how we see anti-LGBTQ plus violence.
Alrighty, and on this gay and day
I mean, I could barely speak,
you
so
can
good
barely
luck.
speak. This is going to be even harder. I can't even say the title. On this day in gay history. Wow.
Magua?
Mwanga the second, I guess, of Buganda ascended to the throne.
Yes.
So in 1884, in what we now call Uganda, Mwanga is the 31st Kabaka, or king of Buganda, now known as Uganda, and keeps a harem of young boys along with his 16 wives. He resists Christianity.
I can't even get one.
Coming to Buganda. So the missionaries work on converting the harem boys. Oh, did I lose that? He resists Christianity coming to Buganda so that the missionaries work on converting the harem boys so that they will no longer pleasure Mwanga. Oh my God. The king goes into a rage when his favorite boy, Mafu, refuses him and Manga has almost 100 boys executed.
Oh, my manga.
No one, yeah. Now known as the Martyrs of Buganda. Holy.
Yeah, that was
wordy.
That was a lot.
It's tough when
you
it's
had
a
not
foreign-
gotten here yet.
Yeah.
This is Nick. This is what I put on today's On This Day in Gay History.
Okay, but to be fair, the other two were just as horrible. Like, and now when I say horrible, I mean like depressing and sad. And so I was just like,
So depressing, sad, and then hard to pronounce words on top of it.
yes, they were all from African American country, not African American.
African nations.
African nations. And so all of the words were very difficult. I'm like, which one? Which one?
And then you give it to the bilingual one to read. And of course,
my Spanish
his Spanglish
kicks in, and then I get nervous and forget how to pronounce shit. And,
And just a reminder for all you folks out there, for us bilingual folks, we think in two languages while we're trying to communicate in one.
Yeah.
So if we screw it up, let us be.
Yeah, because I automatically see a weird word and I want to go to Spanish.
Right.
So it's like Buganda. I want to say it in Spanish, right?
Yeah, Buganda.
Buganda. And I'm like, I know it's not. So it's like now you're wrestling your head, your speech, and the
Your
panic.
tongue.
Yeah. And the panic of, oh shit, I'm going to screw this up. And you try even harder to get it correctly.
Now you know how I feel. It's like, oh my God. I was trying to say laryngologist.
Laryngologist.
I was like, oh my God. I hope I don't screw it up.
Yeah, we can get it together for a while.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah, we were up there for like 10 minutes trying to figure out how to say laryngologist. Jay and I were practice. Jay, laryngologist.
Let's find this on Google.
All right, well, I'm going to toss it off. Did you do Mama Kim's Minute already?
Yes, we did. Girl, you're
I'm all over the place.
Announcements. Okay.
Go for it.
If you love the show, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcasting service. By subscribing, you get the latest and greatest of our show delivered right to your favorite device or web browser as soon as the episode is published. You can also support us on Patreon. With Patreon, you, our listeners, can help to support the show with a pledged donations. The donations are collected monthly and can be in any denomination of $1 or more.
I'm going to take this one, Jay.
Yes, because
you can take the next one. Yeah, I did. I left it blank. So
Yeah.
next week, we are very excited to welcome yet another guest. Sorry, Tom. So we welcome Andrew Mitch. Andrew Mitch is a country pop music star, upcoming star, but he makes it very gay. And he just released All in My Head, which is a beautiful song, which we'll share next week. So we're very excited to chat with Andrew next week.
Yeah.
And he's very easy on the eyes.
Of course.
And of course, I guess we want to, again, thank you to our guest, Dr. Mendelsohn, our new doctor.
A new doctor.
In the house.
That works with the other hole.
Yeah. So
The one up top.
Now, we're getting there. Now we just got to round it out.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. I think he provided a lot of good info.
No,
I
think.
Yeah. Again, thank you for the work that you do, the people you work with. It's amazing. It's hard to find doctors that are willing to work with our community. So, big kudos to you. And I think he deserves a quick round of applause.
Yes, queen.
And we're moving on. Nick, over to you.
Thank you. All right, everybody, get the Future Method and all other products today. All products are doctor developed, and now you can clean out without hurting your bum. You can take confidence anywhere with the anal powder packs and increase your stretch goals with the 3-piece anal dilation kit. Visit futuremethod.com to purchase your life-changing bum accessories today.
And there is a lot of them. So, yes.
Yep. And as always, it has come down to the last minute. Time to put a ring on it. Our show is available on the website, gaytalk20.com, under audio podcast. It is also available as a free download on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and Stitcher Radio.
All right. You can find us on social media, Facebook, GayTalk 2.0, Instagram, GayTalk 2.0. You can email us at gaytalk2.0@gaytalk20.com. Tom, wrap it up.
Oh my God. Let me get my mouse over here. Okay, here we go. All right, ladies and gents, if you need to reach out to us, just head on over to our website. You can click on the Contact Us tab at the top of your web browser. There you can leave comments, you can suggest topics, submit a question for the cast or an individual host, and so much more. You can also call us and leave us any questions you may have via voice message. You can just call our phone. It is 334-GAY-TALK. And if you need all of those digits, it is 334-429-8255. Once again, I want to thank you all for joining us on tonight's episode. Ladies and gents, and everyone else, that is our show. Thank you, and y'all have a good night. Bye!
Thank you for listening to this episode of Gay Talk 2.0. Tune in next time for more dish.